Greetings from the Academic Success Team here at TMU. In this video, we'll walk you through some strategies for how to put the final touches on your essay once you've completed a draft. So where to begin? The reality is there isn't one specific way to approach this, and different processes may work for different people. Nevertheless, the strategies we'll focus on in this video are ones that we at the Academic Success Team would recommend that everyone try. Putting these strategies in place won't just help you get a better grade on your paper, they'll help you improve your writing practice overall. Once you've completed the draft of your essay, we recommend that you approach the final touches from the perspective of high order and lower order concerns. Starting with the higher order stuff. What are higher order concerns? The higher order concerns of a written assignment are the big picture components of your paper. Things like making sure you've actually addressed the expectations of the assignment prompt, having a strong and well-developed thesis, structuring and organizing your ideas in a clear and coherent way, and making sure that you're writing with the appropriate audience awareness. On the other hand, the lower order concerns have to do with the finer details of the paper. Things like grammar and spelling, making sure that you're following the correct style guide in your citations, and general formatting of the paper. We strongly recommend that before tending to the lower order concerns, make sure you address the higher order concerns. Why? Well, think about it this way. Let's say you wrote a paper about oranges. And let's say once you've completed your draft, you go straight to touching up the lower order concerns. You polish that thing off so there isn't a single grammatical or spelling error. Your citations are on point and everything is formatted perfectly. But let's say the assignment prompt had actually instructed you to write about apples. Even if you wrote the best paper anyone's ever written about oranges, when you submit it, it's only going to be able to do so well if the assignment was really about apples. And if you change things up to write about apples, then all the work you put into polishing off the paper about oranges will have counted for nothing. It's for reasons like this that we recommend you start by focusing on the higher order, big picture components first. Leaping off of that last point about apples and oranges, a really important strategy that we recommend is going back to the assignment prompt once you've completed a draft of the paper. When you do this, make an effort to identify all of the specific expectations that are expressed in the assignment prompt. Look out for action words like compare or evaluate or defend. When words like these come up, they're usually explicitly setting out some of the things that you're expected to do with your paper. Once you've identified all of the expectations, honestly ask yourself, have I met all of these expectations in my paper? Have I done what was asked? If you find that there are expectations that you haven't met, you may want to consider the positioning of your paper, as well as potentially developing some new content and ideas that do meet the assignment expectations. At the end of the day, the best papers are the ones that have fully addressed what was asked. By making sure that you've addressed the expectations, you'll be on your way to a stronger paper. Another strategy that we'd recommend is reading your paper out loud to yourself. Or, if you have a friend or peer who's willing to do so, have them read it out loud to you. Whether it's you or your friend doing the reading, having it read out loud will help put some distance between you and your paper. A little distance will help you be able to provide a more honest assessment of some of the big picture components. As you go through this exercise, here are some key questions you can ask yourself to help you hone in on some of the bigger ticket items. Audience awareness is a very important factor in an academic paper. We all have different tones that we adopt depending on who we're speaking to. You probably don't talk to your friends in the same way that you talk to your parents, and you probably don't talk to your parents in the same way that you talk to your peers. Try to make sure the tone of your paper matches the academic audience you're addressing. For example, it shouldn't sound like it's written to your friends. Another question to think about is whether the paper naturally flows from paragraph to paragraph or whether it feels disjointed in any places and tricky to follow. The best papers flow seamlessly, making it easy for the audience to understand exactly what's going on and the development of ideas. Repetition isn't necessarily a bad thing in a paper, but repetition that doesn't accomplish something should be avoided. So pay attention and ask yourself if you're repeating the same idea throughout the paper, and try to give an honest assessment about whether you're developing the idea in some way by repeating it or whether you're not accomplishing anything by doing so. On a similar note, ask yourself whether each section or paragraph of the paper actually contributes towards the development of your ideas. Every section of your paper should count for something. If there are sections of your paper that don't contribute towards the main idea or overall position that your paper is taking, you might want to think about removing it. When you create a little distance between yourself and your paper and ask these types of questions, you'll be giving yourself a major opportunity to think about and make sure these higher order concerns are addressed. The next strategy that we're going to cover is probably the best one that we could recommend: completing a reverse outline. This requires some work, but it's an incredibly effective strategy to honestly assess your paper. So how exactly do you make a reverse outline? So to start, pull up a copy of the draft of your paper. Get a separate piece of paper or pull up a note or blank document on your computer. For every paragraph in your paper, write out a single, concise sentence that summarizes the main idea of each paragraph. Once you've built out a full set of summarizing sentences for every paragraph, you'll have set yourself up to easily identify areas for improvement. But before we go into that, let's focus on a few details and pointers for building your sentence set. The introductory paragraph of your essay should include your thesis statement. The thesis statement alone will act as a summarizing statement for that paragraph. Not only that, but your thesis statement should summarize exactly what you're going to accomplish with your paper. If you feel like it doesn't effectively do that, you may have just found an opportunity to tighten it up and improve it. After you've pulled out your thesis statement and started off your sentence set for the reverse outline, go through and summarize each of the body paragraphs with a single, concise sentence. If you're having trouble doing this, for instance, maybe you find that you can't summarize each paragraph with a single sentence, you may have just found an opportunity to improve on that paragraph. Each paragraph should revolve around one main thing. So if you find that you're jumping between multiple ideas that don't tie back to the same thing, you probably need to rework or split up that paragraph. Once you've got your full sentence set, you'll have an actual skeleton of the paper. Not just what you think or plan the skeleton of the paper to be, but what it actually is based on the draft that you've written. From there, you can start asking yourself some powerful questions to assess the paper. To begin, look at your first sentence, which will be your thesis, and then ask yourself if all the other sentences tie back to it in a clear way. Remember, your thesis should express exactly what your paper is setting out to do. So if there are sentences within your set that don't speak directly to the thesis, you've likely found an opportunity to improve the paper. Maybe the paragraph corresponding to that sentence should be removed, or maybe it should be modified. Importantly, though, if you've identified something that doesn't seem to fit, make sure you try to address it in some way. Another really valuable thing you can do is consider the ways in which each sentence in the set flows to the next. Ask yourself, is there a clear connection from one sentence to the next? Is there any repetition amongst the sentences in my set? Are all of the sentences necessary for developing my point? Do all of the sentences create a clear structure and flow? After addressing these questions and completing your reverse outline, you should be left with the paper's main points and ideas.